Professor Nam-yong's column, The Middle East. War is a three-dimensional hybrid war, combining nuclear weapons, advanced technology, and unrestricted warfare. The current Middle East war goes beyond a conflict combining conventional forces, nuclear deterrence, and AI-based advanced technologies. I define it as a three-dimensional hybrid war that also incorporates China's concept of unrestricted warfare. This war expands beyond the four traditional variables: technology gap, cost structure, war sustainability, and nuclear deterrence into the domains of information, economy, and psychology. Nuclear weapons are the top-tier variable that determines the ceiling of the war. The structure, approximately 5,200 nuclear warheads held by the United States, 8,100 by Israel and Iran, possessing the capability to produce 1 to 3 weapons, creates mutual deterrence. While the probability of actual nuclear use is low, the deterrence effect exceeds 90%. As a result, the war shifts from decisive termination to a controlled, prolonged conflict. Drone warfare is fundamentally transforming the cost structure. The United States and Israel operate high-cost precision strike drones, each costing hundreds of millions of Korean won, achieving accuracy rates of 85 to 95%. In contrast, Iran deploys low-cost suicide drones, each costing only a few million won, at a rate of 100-300 units per day, achieving over 10 times cost-effectiveness. Defensive interception costs are 5 to 20 times higher than offensive costs, creating cumulative financial pressure in a prolonged war. Military satellites create a decisive information gap. The United States maintains real-time data links through over 200 military satellites and more than 3,000 Starlink satellites, improving strike accuracy by more than twofold. Iran, with limited satellite capability, experiences delays of several hours, significantly reducing operational efficiency. This gap is a critical determinant of initial combat success. Missile warfare represents a clash between saturation and defense. Israel's Iron Dome achieves an interception rate of 85 to 90%, but each interception costs between tens of millions and over 100 million won. Iran can launch 500 to 1,000 missiles per day at relatively low cost. Once a certain threshold is exceeded, defensive systems reach limits in both inventory and cost. In air power, the F-35-centered stealth system provides overwhelming superiority. Detection probability is reduced by over 90%, and strike success rates are doubled, resulting in over 90% probability of air superiority. In contrast, over 70% of Iran's air force consists of aging platforms, with air combat success rates estimated below 10%. In naval warfare, U.S. carrier strike groups possess over 10 times the combat power of Iran. However, the Strait of Hormuz accounts for about 20% of global oil shipments. If Iran disrupts 10 to 30% of traffic using mines and anti-ship missiles, global oil prices could rise by 20-40%. This demonstrates how military conflict can immediately transform into economic warfare. In cyberspace, attacks on critical infrastructure can disable 10 to 20% of national functions and cause economic losses equivalent to 1 to 3% of GDP. This produces faster strategic effects than physical attacks. Regarding war sustainability, combat motivation influences war duration by 25-35%. Iran, with religiously driven mobilization, has higher endurance in prolonged conflict, whereas the United States and Israel are more sensitive to political and economic costs. This structure shifts the war from a short decisive battle to a prolonged war of attrition. I assess that unrestricted warfare is now actively integrated into this conflict. Iran is conducting economic warfare by disrupting energy markets, causing oil prices to fluctuate by 20 to 40%, while simultaneously dividing international opinion through information and psychological operations. This weakens the opponent's war sustainability without direct military engagement. The United States and Israel are also responding through cyber and information warfare, expanding the battlefield into invisible domains. In summary, this war operates in three dimensions. Nuclear deterrence sets the ceiling, advanced technology determines initial outcomes, and unrestricted warfare governs long-term dynamics. While the probability of short-term victory for the United States and Israel exceeds 80%, the probability of war termination after 6 months falls below 50%. The implications for South Korea's security are direct and significant. South Korea depends on the Middle East for approximately 70% of its oil imports, and a 20-30% increase in energy prices would impact the entire economy. If nuclear proliferation becomes a reality, the probability of expanded nuclear balance discussions in Northeast Asia exceeds 60%. North Korea already possesses over 50 nuclear warheads and hundreds of missiles, and when combined with drones and cyber capabilities, a multi-layered threat becomes inevitable. Furthermore, the inflow of unrestricted warfare tactics, particularly information warfare, into South Korea could lead to social division and policy instability. I conclude that South Korea must simultaneously prepare three strategic responses: the establishment of an AI-based integrated command system, the acquisition of low-cost mass force capabilities, and the development of a comprehensive unrestricted warfare response system encompassing information, economic, and psychological domains. War is no longer determined by visible forces alone. Thank you for watching Professor Lee Nam-yong's column.